Shalom. Welcome to our ancient Triennial Torah Portion. This is where we read through the ancient parasha, lately from a codex which is over 1,000 years old. To put this in context, this is less than 200 years after the birth of the religion of Islam. We have a codex completely intact from the Hebrew Bible, and we are reading from that. Really, really amazing. Just more evidence that truly we did have the Bible preserved in those times. And we still do. Baruch Hashem. So we will be reading the Torah portion. This is the more ancient 3.5 year cycle Torah portion than the yearly cycle. And it is called VayizrA Yitschaq. Then Isaac sowed, or when he sowed. This is, of course, the famous section which talks about the Mea She'arim, the 100 yield, or the 100-fold, or the 100 gates, depending on how you want to read that. You can find this ancient Triennial Torah portion in Genesis, chapter 26, verse 12, through 26, verse 35. Adonai Adonenu, ken yehi retzoncha, ki bayom hazeh ani yachol ledaber devarim asher na'im lecha. O Abba, tishlach na et rochacha alai ve'al kol talmidai, ki anachnu rotzeim lerot et panecha. Lo lanu Adonai, lo lanu, ve'lecha yihye kol hakavod. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So the ancient Triennial Torah portion for today's parsha starts in Genesis chapter 26, verse 12. And you might notice that I'm not showing you the decorative Sedra marking from the Masorah. That's because there are a few Torah portions which differ, which aren't actually included in the ancient reconciling. We are siding with the scholar, Dr. Rabbi Jacob Mann, M-A-N-N, may he rest in peace, and his deep research that he went into rediscovering the ancient Triennial Torah portions and Haftorot. And so we're siding with many works that he found in the old Geniza in Egypt and from other discoveries that he references. So there is a reason for following his counting. Most of the time they match up, but sometimes there are some slight variations, as different communities had slightly differing traditions. All right, so what I've done for you today, to make it easier to track and follow along, if you notice, we have the ancient Westminster Leningrad Codex, which is an eon old, and I will read from that. And we also have, I've put over here for you, with a nice black background, and some of the grammatical elements keyed for you. For example, gray is proper nouns. An easier to read section from what is on this page. And then when I have something that I want to share a pre-planned researched comment from, I have color-coded boxes in those sections. All right, so I put the color codes on both sides because I figure that will also help you to keep up if you're trying to read in the Codex. So today we're going to read from both so that everybody, depending on their level, gets to follow along. So first we'll read from the kind of pretty print, the modern font print, all right? But I won't get into my comments yet. VayizrA Yitschaq. Rather, VayizrA Yitschaq ba'aretz hahi vayimtza b'shana hahi mea she'arim vayavarechehu Adonai. Let me just do some repositioning here of my microphone. I want to make sure the sound is good for everybody. Hopefully it's coming through loud and clear. Let me know. VayizrA. Okay, so we canted there, but now I'm going to translate from the scroll itself, from the Codex. VayizrA Yitschaq. Then, or when Isaac sowed ba'aretz hahi, in that land. Literally, in the land, the he, the that one. It's he because land is feminine. So literally, in the land, the she. Vayimtza. Then he found, or matzah, we learned from Ugaritic. In Ugaritic, the primary meaning for matzah is to overtake, right? Like, if you're chasing one and you overtake them, you matzah them. It kind of works. It's like you found them, right? This is white space markers. These are white space markers. Don't try to read that. Then I'm going to say overtook. He overtook, or overtook, bashana hahi. In that year, what overtook, or what did he find? Mea Sha'arim. And it's nice, there's a religious community with that name on the outskirts of Jerusalem today, Mea Sha'arim. I think it's a cool title. This would be a good name for a kahal, actually, congregation. Mea Sha'arim, wouldn't it be? Ha! 100 Sha'arim, gates. If we're hyper literal with that. Chizkuni teaches that the land was hard, and he found in that year 100-fold, a great miracle that happened for him in a dry and thirsty place. So we do get the idea of that in context it means fold, right? Like as in how many. For example, the Septuagint here, it's for Mea Sharim, it translates ekastosusan krifin, which is the ekastosusan from the verb ekatosu. The Septuagint here translates mea with the verb ekatostuo, which is to produce 100-fold. So produce 100-fold. And so instead of mea sha'arim, the second word, sha'arim, it interestingly enough translates as krifin, which is from krithe, which actually means like barley, or sometimes like a quantity of barley. Now, that's interesting because remember, when the rabbis translated the Jewish Greek Septuagint, they would not have had the vowels underneath this word, right? And they would not have had the dot indicating to read the sheen as a sheen. By the way, for those of you who are new to reading from the Westminster Leningrad Codex, you'll note that this particular scribe, for a sheen, he puts it in the middle arm instead of on the right arm. We discovered that some weeks ago. So this is a sh, right? And then for seen, he still puts it on the left side. So if you didn't have the dot, you didn't have the vowels, this could actually be se'arim, which would mean barley. So it seems like the translators of the Septuagint, the mea, 100, okay, in Hebrew. So they said produced 100-fold. That's already in the one Greek word that we mentioned. And then for the second word, they clearly read this as if it said barley, or like barley chunks, or quantities of barley. Interesting, right? So it's possible that this was the original intent. What we have in the Masorah is the surviving tradition pointing it as she'arim, or if you want, she'arim. Now, in the Mikrot Gedolot, Kimchi understands mea she'arim to be 100 estimates. That is 100 times the expected amount based on the amount he had sown. Isn't that interesting? The Rashbam points out that though it was rocky soil, there's a lot of speculation and interesting comments that can happen. Gersonides wants us to know that this was a famine year. So this demonstrated God's great providential care for Yaakov Avinu. All right, let's continue. Vayu varachehu. So from the verb barach, you can look it over here if you're having trouble reading it. Yivarech means he is blessing or he will bless. Vayivarech means and he blessed or so he blessed. Who? Him. Who blessed him? Yod-He, Waw-He, Adonai. All right. Verse 13. Vayigdal ha'ish vayelech haloch vegadel ad ki gadal me'od. By the way, if you haven't checked it out on Patreon, I shared yesterday the vocabulary list for today's reading of all the words that occur more than 100 times in the Hebrew Bible, but less than 500. So you don't have to learn things that are obvious like God and Hashem, etc., excluding prepositions. So maybe check that out. That's in PDF over on my Patreon. That's patreon.com/Hebrew Literacy. You can get that list to help with your study. So continuing with verse 13 from the scroll. Vayigdal ha'ish. And the man grew. Yigdal, he grew. He became great. Vayelech haloch. What we have here, this is called an infinitive absolute. It's this guy. Infinitive absolute. This is one of the weird things in biblical Hebrew. Okay, there I just marked it in both places. Oy. So this is kind of a wild card in biblical Hebrew. If you see an infinitive absolute by itself, it can be functioned in all kinds of ways, like a command, an imperative. It can be an idea from the verb. It can be an unconjugated version of the verb, like so and so is doing something. But when it follows the same verb, for example, vayelech haloch, they're both from halach. When it follows it, about 80%, 85% of the time, it gives you the idea of continuity, like continuously, like it kept happening, right? So vayelech haloch. So, and he kept walking, or it kept going, right? So what do we have before that? Vayigdal ha'ish, and the man became great and kept going. Vegadel, and became great. So like he kept becoming greater and greater and greater. Ad, until ki, such or that, gadal me'od. He became great. Me'od is an adverb, meaning very much so. He became very great. Of course, you see how we've got both the nicely printed modern font marked with the same marking. So hopefully that can help you keep on track. Chizkuni further comments, the man became great and grew more and more until he became very great, implying that his success multiplied not only in wealth, but in stature and influence. I mean, it's actually kind of more than even what he's saying. It's Vayigdal ha'ish, Vayelech ha'ish, Vegadel, Ad ki gadal. See, there's Yigdal, Gadal, Yelech haloch, right? So, and another Gadel. I mean, the verb Gadal is used 3 times. And we have this, and he kept on going. Vayelech haloch. He kept on going. Vegadel, and increasing, we could say, or becoming great. Until ki such gadal me'od. He had become very great. Both Ibn Ezra and Rashi understand this to mean he became richer and richer, i.e. very, very wealthy. There's a saying that Rashi references, if you haven't seen this before. I'd rather have the dung from Isaac's mules than all the silver and gold of Avimelech. Nice. All right. Genesis chapter 26, verse 14. Vayhi lo mikne tzon umikne vakah va'avoda rabba vaykaneu oto plishtim. All right. Vayhi lo. And there was to him. So that means he had mikne tzon, or rather, mikne tzon. So this is from the verb kana, kof or kuf, nun he, to acquire, to buy. So mikne is a possession of tzon, a flock, umikne, and a possession of vakal, cattle, va, and avuda. Avuda. Now, avuda, this is kind of a much disputed term. Rashi understands avoda to be a single task, but avuda to refer to a manifold set of tasks. Various lexicons and such understand differently, understand this to be the service help, right? Like the people, the actual people who worked in the house, which kind of makes sense because if we're going from mikne, different types of miknes, right? Different types of animals that he has, now avodah would make sense. Others believe that avodah actually refers to the specific help who would work with the cattle, right? Like the type of servants. Ibn Ezra just understands it as a large household of servants. He says that the Hebrew word may be an adjective used as a noun, but there are nouns in this form, and he mentions segula, for example, from Exodus 19:5. The Rashbam also understands it to be a large household, or a large spread of fields and vineyards. So the Hebrew word is related to avodah, he writes, though labor is not otherwise specified. It is presumed to be agricultural labor, if it's not specified. So there's a lot of opinions on this. I think it makes sense to either consider it just to be the household help. It's from the verb avad, to serve, right? Or to be the specific household help that helped with those, right? Because you could see it being a headache. If you have a mikne son and a mikne vakar, but nobody to handle it, well, that's a headache now. But what do you have to go with it? Va'avodah rabba. And this kind of fits with Hebrew parallelism, that it's being scoped by the other things that are in close proximity to it. So I personally think that's probably what is happening with that particular example. All right, let's continue. Rabbah, a great number. Feminine singular because it's agreeing with avodah. Vayekaneu. But they were jealous of him. Who were? Plishtim, the Philistines, the Plishtim. His love for many servants and livestock, and because of this, the Philistines became jealous and turned against him. Chizkuni. Boy, how many times have you seen this happen? You're living in a place, and the Goyim, they see that you've got some success, and they turn against you, don't they? It even happens on the macro scale. Why do you think there's so much anti-Semitism? Well, there are lots of reasons. Really, the primary spiritual reason is that the Nachash wants us destroyed because it would make God into a liar, right? If God turned his back on his people forever and allowed us to be destroyed, then it would make him into a liar. And, well, then why even have religion? If the true God is a liar, that'd be terrible. The other reason is we tend to be successful, right? We tend to be the head and not the tail. We tend to be the Nobel Prize laureates. We tend to be the Einsteins of the world, right? We tend to, at least we are highly overrepresented as far as successful. This is even why you get all these conspiracies. Oh, the Jews control the media. I think that's been fairly debunked by seeing how almost the entire world seemed to trust the statistics of a terrorist organization in the recent war. Everybody just runs with the stats given by Hamas because they would never lie, right? I mean, just even otherwise intelligent people are just trusting, and the media has mimicked whatever numbers Hamas put out there. That's the number. It's got to be true, rather than trusting Israel. the democracy that's in the Middle East, the Westernish nation, which is in the Middle East. So, yeah, you can see how this can happen. People don't like that we are overrepresented. They resent it. They don't like that we are more successful than many other groups. And again, that doesn't mean every Jew is overly successful. That's a misunderstanding. So we see this. There's also a concept, whatever the ethnicity, whatever the religion, individuals become jealous when they see someone being successful, especially in a place where they were unable to be successful at the same trade. And that's what's happening here. The ground, it was during a drought. The ground was rocky. It wasn't good for growing. And even Yaakov Avinu was surprised with the Me'asharim reaping, the yielding, which was unexpected. It was 100 times more than what they had expected based on the seed which had been planted. All right, let's continue with verse 15. V'chol ha'be'erot asher chaferuhu avdei aviv b'mei Avraham aviv sitmuhum Pilishtim v'emaluim afahah. Okay, so 15. Let's look at the scroll now, and we'll translate from there. Genesis 26, verse 15. V'chol habe'erot, and all of the wells, asher, which chaferu, had dug, the avdei aviv, the servants of his father, be the Yemei Avraham, Aviv, but in Yemei Avraham, the days of Abraham, Aviv, his father. Sit mum, they stuffed them, like they filled them up. Rather, they stopped up, something like this. Who did? Plishtim. Vayil mal'u, and they filled, malah, mem lamed aleph, they filled them, with afar, with dust or dirt. And if you have the vocabulary handout that I gave, you might note that I put rarely in poetry, this can also mean mud. So don't get stuck on it only being dust. Like what happens when dust gets wet? It's mud, right? So if they're just filling it with dust, that seems kind of weird, right? Like it's going to take forever. So you have to be flexible in the context. All right. Any comments or questions? I'm just going to take a quick drink while you think about it. All right, let's continue. Genesis chapter 26. And we only have one verse on this page. Verse 16. The reason for the one verse is because if you look, this is the bottom of the column in the Westminster Leningrad Codex, and then we have to go up to the top of the next column to get the last word. Right? So what I've done is I just copy, paste it, reduce the image, and put it here for you, okay? All right, I just removed the weird yellow markings. I'm not sure how those ended up on there. So let's look at Genesis chapter 26, verse 16. Vayomer Avimelech el Yitzchak lech me'imanu Kian atzamta mimeno meod. Vayomer Avimelech. Then Avimelech, Yomer, he said, El, unto Yitzchak, unto Isaac. Oh yeah, I think sorry. My brain sometimes does funny things. When I was a child, I was in some kind of finalist spelling bee, and they gave me an easy word. It was yesterday. And I went, W-E-S-T-R-D-A-Y. And the judges said, could you repeat that? I said, W-E-S-T. I thought I was saying Y, but I was saying W. I was just shocked that it was incorrect. Such an easy word. Only later, when my parents told me, yeah, you said W, I thought, really? So I kind of discovered this little short circuit that happens in my brain sometimes. So, I've been accidentally saying Yaakov. I meant Yitzchak. Wrong patriarch. So apologies for that. Anyway. So here we are. Yitzchak. Lech. This is from the verb halach. So there's a hey at the beginning of this word, which drops when it's in a command form, and some other forms too. So lech is go. Halach, go. Me, that's min, as in hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Look at that, I reused the dot that was on the scroll already. Min. That chirik tried to go into the ayin. Ayin will not double, so it came back out, and instead it lengthened the vowel. That's why you have two vowels there. Me from im with anu, with us. Ki for ratzam to. You are ratzam, stronger. We get a famous noun that's from this word, etzim. Or this is probably a backward translated. The verb probably comes from the noun. I mean, back form, not translated. Etzim means bone. So you are bonier, right? You are bonier. You can see how that can be stronger, right? The bone is a strong part of the body. You are bone. Me. Again, this is min. You can see what happened here. Min. And that noon assimilated into the mem. That's why there's a dot there. That's the noon hiding in there. Min menu became mim. There's two mems in a row here. So three in a row. Mem, mem, mem. From us. So at samta, you are stronger. You are strong, or you're bony. Min menu, from us. That's the mem of comparison. It means than. You're stronger than us. Not just stronger than us, but me'od. That's a schwa. If it's covered up by my circle there a bit, I apologize. Exceedingly. You are much stronger than us. Rambam highlights the political anxiety caused by Isaac's increasing influence and wealth, showing how earthly powers respond with fear to God's blessings upon his chosen. Again, this drives some forms of anti-Semitism. We can see. I wouldn't be surprised if this drives a lot of the stuff from the moon god people. I mean, look, the land was barren before Jews came back, right? And then God blessed it again now that we're there, as well as Jewish innovation. There have been huge leaps in the science of, the engineering of hydroponics, using as little liquid as possible to irrigate, also of desalinization, just leaps forward that have been made by Israel. And we cleared out all the marshes, the swamp area, the malaria-ridden places that were just horrid, and have turned it into really a bountiful country, not only technologically, but agriculturally as well. One of the gifts that was given to the Gazans was the gift of greenhouses. I believe at the time when Israel gifted control of Gaza to the Zingrites, I think I read before that 23% of the agricultural export from Israel was from that area. It was just the greenhouses that were built were just so productive. And what happened? They democratically elected in a landslide Hamas, so the people chose it. That's what they wanted. They wanted the extremists. It's not like, oh, the poor Gazans are oppressed by Hamas. They wanted that. They liked those guys. Yep, it was in sync with them. And they destroyed all the greenhouses and just all the... We left it intact. We didn't destroy it. So you can see this alive and well today, this open evil-eyedness towards what Jews produce and others were unable to or unwilling. Genesis chapter 26, verse 17. Vayelech misham Yitzchak Vayichan Benachal Gerar Vayeshev Sham. Okay. Vayelech. Then halach. Then he went. Misham. That's min sham. Became misham. From there, Yitzchak. In the Talmud, Tractate Sanhedrin, page 16b, the Gemara teaches that we see here the demonstration of the characteristic of obedience of the the patriarchs to divine commands, exemplified by Isaac's willingness to relocate peacefully despite personal injustice. It is not just what Avimelech is doing. Vayichan. This is the word chana, chet nun hey, and the final hey is gone, which is to encamp, one of your vocabulary words recently. Also this week too. Then he camped at, construct chain, da Nachal Gerar, the Wadi Garav, Vayeshev, and he dwelled, Sham, there. Remember the final mem, this particular scribe writes it like a samech, maybe just the time period it was that way. Vayashav Yitzchak. Oh, okay, sorry, I'm on the next verse. sorry. Vayashav Yitzchak V'yachpo et berot hamayim asher chaferu bimei Avraham Aviv v'satmuhum plishtim acharei mot Avraham. That's pretty big. Let's stop there with the Atnachta. We'll come back to it. The Vayashav Yitzchak. Then Yitzchak dwelled, or so Yitzchak dwelled. He lived there. Vayachpol, and he chafar is to dug. It can also mean to investigate, like you're digging for the truth in other contexts. Et, we don't translate, that's the DDO, and this is just some white space provided by the scribe. Be'erot, wells of hamayim, of the water. So water wells, as opposed to orange juice wells, I suppose. Asher, which, chaferu, they dug, da bimei Avraham, in the Yamim, the days of Avraham. Aviv, his father. Vayisatmu, and they had plugged up them. Philistines. It's like the same spirits there today, destroying the greenhouses, right? Acharei, after. Oh, hold on. How far do we go before we get to that Nachta? Let's see. Okay, we're right there now. Acharei, after mot Avraham, the death of Avraham. Okay, so there's the Nachta. We will continue now. Vayikacha lahen shemot kashamot asher kara lahen Aviv. Vayikra. So then they called lahen to them. Why is it hen? Well, because be'erot is a feminine plural. So lahen means to them, but that's a feminine word. If it was masculine, or it would be lahem. But instead it's lahen. To them, they called to them, so they named them. Kara plus lamed can either mean to name or to summon. It can also be literally to call to. So they named them shemot, names. Ka shemot, as the shemot, like the names, asher which, kara lahen, named them Aviv, his father, Avraham. I'm kind of excited. I think we're developing an interesting new icing on the cake of how we do the ancient Triennial Torah portions. I wish we had started this way, but maybe next time around we'll make it perfect. Reading through all of the ancient text and also showing the the modern fonts. I don't know. Do you feel connected to how ancient the text really is? I mean, and this is just a 1,000-year-old copy. We've got segments from the Dead Sea Scrolls that are over 2,000 years old. It's just ridiculous when you read. There's a certain religion, the one which teaches to bleep all of our people, right? It teaches that before the end, the judgment can come, you must bleep all of the Jews, all of our people. And this particular religion claims that the Torah has been corrupted. The Torah and the Injil, they say. The Injil is how they call the gospel. They think it's an Arabic word. It's actually from Greek. It's from Evangelion, right? The good news. And the Besorah in Hebrew, right? So they claim it's been corrupted, and that's why you need their religion, right? Their book, like you came to correct it. But the only problem is in their actual book, their prophet, there's some Jews they come to him, and there's a case of adultery, and they're asking Momo what to do about it. Like they want to have his wisdom. This is a story, right? I doubt this would happen. And they bring with them they have the Torah, right? They have a Torah scroll, and they put out a pillow for Momo, and Momo sits on it. And instead, he gets up off of his pillow, which to me is crazy to do this. Your ass was on it, but it's presented as though he's showing great respect. And he puts the Torah scroll instead on the pillow, and then he sits just on the ground or whatever. And he says, "I believe in you," speaking to the Torah, "and the one who sent you." Right? And there's not a place where he swears by the Torah. So clearly not someone who thought that it had been corrupted, right? Like, why would you say I believe in you or swear by it if you think it's been corrupted? So, and we can, like I said, the very text that we are looking at right now, this is from less than 200 years after Momo walked the earth. You understand? It's not even 2 centuries later. This complete, and it's copied from other traditions. So it's very clear that it was not corrupted. Okay? Every Christian translation of the Tanakh, almost every, there are a few weirdos who use Septuagint instead, but almost all of them, all the hundreds of denominations, when you get an English translation, it's based on what we are looking at right here, the WLC, the Masoretic text, okay? And so we have today a copy which has survived. You don't think they had a complete copy in those days? And this is the whole Tanakh. And it's pointed. It's fully pointed. You don't think they had Torahs that weren't unpointed, that were, and clearly there were, because in their holy book, in their own holy book, you can see their prophet showing that it's intact. So the modern day argument, when someone from this religion tries to tell you, oh, the Bible was corrupted, and that's why you needed our holy book, which is smaller than the New Testament, by the way, to give you kind of an idea how small it is, poppycock. They don't even repeat the 10 Commandments in it, too, by the way. So, which makes sense because their prophet broke every single 10 of the 10 Commandments. So, anyway, so I like to put that in there. Once in a while, we need to be ready always with an answer for the faith that is within us. So, isn't it great to feel connected to reading and understanding this ancient 1,000-year-old scroll? I mean, just really something else. Oh, and sorry, I'm off a little bit on the less than 200 years. I'm wrong. I just realized. For some reason, I always think he was born in 820. It's 620. Okay, so it is some centuries later, but still, this is the entire Tanakh, and it's pointed, right? You don't think we had at least a Torah scroll intact from that time period? So, yeah, off a little bit there. It's 600s, the 600s when he walked the earth. So this would be 3 centuries plus some decades after that, when this particular copy was written. And the better copy was the one before this. The Aleppo Codex was even better, but that was destroyed partially destroyed. We have a lot of it today, but most of the Torah part of it was destroyed in a fire at the synagogue where it was kept in Syria. Gee, I wonder who could start a fire at a Jewish synagogue in Syria. Who could it be? I wonder, could it be that same, the same religion I'm talking about? All right, let's continue. Oh, did I translate that all? I got kind of off on a tangent. Oh, yeah, we did. Okay, good. All right, continuing with Genesis chapter 26, verse 19. VayizrA Yitschaq Genesis Vayimtzeu sham be'er mayim chayim. Okay, verse 19. Let's look at the ancient Codex. Vayachperu. Then they dug up Avdei Yitzchak, the servants of Yitzchak, Banachal, at the wadi, Vayimtzeu, and they found Sham there, Be'erot Mayim. Be'er Mayim. I should say Be'er Mayim Chayim. Do we have it? Be'er Mayim Chayim. A well of water, Chayim, living. What this means is it's not just like some stagnant water or something. Living waters means it's flowing, right? It's flowing. Of course, this is a Gezerah Shava to the Besorot when the master teaches the Samaritan woman that he has Hudotos Zontes in the Jewish Greek, which is Mayim Chayim. He would have given her Mayim Chayim, which means flowing water, right? Like from a river or something, or from a nice well that has an underground river. And it would have bubbled up within her, and she never would need to come back anymore, etc. And of course, she doesn't get it. And I like to point out that today the term has been very spiritualized. I mean, we have you'll see living water ministries, right? Whenever you talk about living waters, everyone always feels it's something spiritual. But you need to understand that originally it just meant water that flows, right? Water with a source. And so the master, he's using it he's doing a double entendre, using it spiritually, as many rabbis later did as well. So he's using it in kind of way, and that's why the lady didn't get what he's talking about. She's like, oh, show me where this water is so I don't have to keep coming back to the well. So it's, he's doing like he likes it. He's making these time bombs where later when he's gone, the person will get it. Oh, that was him. That was Mashiach. So fortunate that we know about him. All right. I have a comment here on this I want to share with you. The Or HaChaim notes, the blessing implicit in finding fresh water in a drought-affected area symbolizes God's providence and ongoing sustenance for Isaac and his descendants. Yay! Nailed it. Or HaChaim, the light of life. All right, verse 20. Vayarivu v'ayei gera em ro'ei Yitzchak lemol lanu hamayim vayikra shem ha'be'er ve'eshek v'esek ki hitaseku imo vayarivu. And then we have the subject, v'ayei gera, or rather, v'ayei gera. Don't get confused. This isn't a kuf. That's the lamed coming up, the extended beautiful lamed. Okay, this is just a reish. That top part is not making it a hey or something or a kuf. Okay, so v'ayei is the construct form from shepherds of Gerar. Again, it's a reish, and we have a long lamed underneath it. So the shepherds of Gerar, Yarivu, they disputed with the Yitzchak, the shepherds of Yitzchak, of Isaac. Lemor saying, Lanu, to us is Hamayim, the water. So the water belongs to us. Vayikra. So he called the Shem HaBe'er, the name of the well, Isaac, which is like Isaac in and of itself. Assuming it's from the verb la'asak, it's like to wrangle, right? Rashi explains it as dispute. It's called dispute. Ibn Ezra explains it. Isaac clearly comes from the verb contended, hita'asku or hita'asku. But this root occurs nowhere else in the Bible. So our tradition, however, explains what it means. Let's continue. He called it Isaac. Ki, because hit yaseku. They disputed or they struggled with him. And even if you didn't know what this word was, even though this is the only place that it shows up in Scripture, the concept of Hebrew parallelism would work for figuring it out. Because in the very same verse, how does it start? The shepherds of Gerar, they disputed VayizrA Yitschaq with his shepherds. Okay, so quarrel at the very least you can understand. What's interesting is the hit pile. Like they themselves caused the situation. They caused the dispute with him or struggle with him, to quarrel with him. Verse 21. ויחפרו באר אחרת ויריבו גם עליה ויקרא שמך שטנה. Okay. ויחפרו. Then they dug be'er, a well, acheret, another one. Vayarivu, but they disputed, they quarreled, gam, also, aleha, concerning her. Vayikra shema, so he called her name Sitna, which is interesting. This is the root of Satan. Satan, can you see it? Satan, Sitna. You can tell by the name that Yitzchak Avinu is not happy. Satan means adversary, right? Or opponent. Any comments or questions? Kimchi points out that the reason for naming it adversary is as if he's saying, they quarrel with us wherever we dig. Nachmanides understands. He says this is a harder name than the first one, right? Now it's accusation. And the second temple was indeed named after this well. For, quote, in the reign of Achashverosh, at the start of the reign, they drew up an accusation, a sitna, against the inhabitants of Judah and Jerusalem. Ezra chapter 4, verse 6. After building it, in fact, the second temple proved an accusation against us until it too was destroyed and we were sent into this evil exile, the Galut of today. But we're coming back. Finally, we're at a time where more than half of the world's Jewry live in the land. It's kind of amazing to see in our times. Any comments or questions? Everyone saw how it looks like Satan, right? Satan. By the way, don't be surprised. A samech and a sin often change places, so you can also see this with a samech as well. And actually, this is probably a good place. Let's take a break. About 3 minutes or so. We'll see how long the song is. I'll put one of our Hebrew literacy songs in here too. So it's not blank space, so people don't think there's a problem with the stream. Good time to take a stretch. 3 to 5 minutes. We'll see. Maybe what I'll do is after the song stops, I'll give you warning. Hey, we're about to start. Okay, how about that? So if you need a stretch, use the bathroom, get a drink, get some kind of oneg Shabbat, now's a good time.
Smoke is coming down the altar, fire cleansing clearly. Glance towards the throne room, the covenantal ark has been found. The ark of the Pact, blinding in brilliance, are on a Codex. Purity and form are on a breed. Back now, though it was gone, Aaron. Now it's time to face Koli Ubeinu. They can't stop us now ever again, no. Backing down, they won't question whose God is, wow. Or even if it's just our intellect driving success. There's no backing down with blinding in brilliance, are on a Codex. Purity and form are on a breed. Back now, though it was gone, Aaron.
All right, welcome back. We're about to start again. I hope all of you had an excellent short break. You're hydrated, had maybe some yummies. If you had a bladder issue, hopefully that's taken care of. We are about to start again, starting in 15 seconds. All right. Here we are in Genesis chapter 26, verse 22. If you're coming in late, we are looking at the 1,000-year-old Westminster Leningrad Codex of the Hebrew Bible. And we have a screenshot from the BHS, the Biblia Hebraica Stuttgartensia critical apparatus, modern Bible used in most modern translations. ויעתק משם ויחפור באר אחרת ולא רבו עליה ויקרא שמה רחובות ויאמר כי אתה הרחיב אדוני lano ufarinu va'aretz. Okay. We'll look at the ancient text now and translate. I'll try to keep them both in line. Take. So he moved on. He kept going. Related to the Ugaritic atak, to go past. He kept going. You could also think of it, he wandered far. Misham. From Sham. Min Sham became Misham. From there. Vayachpol. And he dug. Be'er acheret. A different well. Velo. And not. Ravu. Did they grieve? They didn't dispute. Aleha. Concerning her. Vayikra. So he called Shema. Her name. Rechovoth. So that's the name. The root is rachav, like which is wide, like a width or wide, something like this. It implies, like, in the Hebrew mindset, there's always a wonderful concept of to be wide, like wide open spaces, before that band went woke. To like have your area broad and wide is considered a blessing from Hashem, right? There's even a psalmist refers to your broad domain in one of the Psalms, like as opposed to the constriction of Gehinnom. So Rechovoth, wide places, something like that. Vayomer, for he said, Ki ata, for now, Hirchiv Adonai. Adonai has Kifil, caused to Rachav, caused to be wide. So you have it over here. Lanu, for us. Ufarinu. Sorry, I made the box on the left broader than on the right. Ufarinu. And he has caused to be fruitful us. Va'aretz. In the land. When blessing is uncontested, it finds expansion. Chizkuni comments. The Rashbam points out that they didn't quarrel of it because he had moved so far from their flocks. Nachmanides looks a bit different, mentioning that it's called Rechovoth, and he says, this is the future third temple. May it be built speedily and in our times. Amen. Which will be constructed without any quarreling or strife. For the verse, quote, when Adonai your God enlarges Yarchiv, your territory, as he swore to your fathers, and gives you all the land that he promised to give your fathers. Deuteronomy 19:8 refers to the future. As Yechezkiel says of the third temple in his vision, the winding passage of the side chambers widened, Rachavah, from story to story, in Ezekiel 41 verse 7. The Lord has granted us ample space to increase the land. Again, granted ample space is Hirchiv. All the nations will build the third temple and, quote, serve him with one accord, unquote, in Zephaniah chapter 3 verse 9. The Bechor Shur comments that he moved from there, Misham, to a place where they would not or could not even claim that the water was from their wadi. Like, it's so far, how could they even claim such a thing, was the idea. All right, let's continue on now with verse 23. Vayal Misham Be'er Shava. Vayal. It's the verb Allah. Ayin Lamed Hey. The Hey has gone away. Kind of hard to see we have a Lamed here because it got cut with my thing. That's a Lamed. See, there's the Lamed. And there's a missing Hey after it, which happens in these kinds of verbs. Sorry, I didn't mean to draw on the screen extra just now. Sometimes when you start drawing, it doesn't want to stop. So he went up, Misham, from there. Be'er Shava. It should actually be Be'era Shava, to the well of Sheva. So there might be something here hidden, some reason that we don't have the hey locative. Although pretty often that will get left off in Scripture. He went to Beersheba, which you can go to today in Israel. We own it, Baruch Hashem. Verse 24. Vayera Elahav Adonai Balayla Hahu Vayomer Anochi Elohei Avraham Avicha Al Tira Kitecha Anochi Avrachticha V'hibeti Et Zacha V'avu Avraham Avdihi. Okay, so 24. We are. Vayera. Oh, actually, I'll make it so you can see them both. I forgot. We've been doing that. So this is from the verb ra'ah. Again, there's a hey that disappeared at the end. So now you can probably recognize Resh Aleph Hey means to see. But we have a little sere in here, which indicates that the dagesh from the noon could not go into the resh, and it lengthened the single dot chirik. So in ancient Hebrew, this would have been vayin ra with a noon. Vayin ra became vayera. So that's nifal, to be seen. And was seen, which is how you say, and appeared alive unto him. Vayera, alive, and appeared to him. Yod, hey, wow, hey. Balayla, hahu, in that night. Or Balayla, in all the Lila, in the night. Ha, the hu, the he, in that night. Vayomer, and he said, Anochi, Elohei Avraham Avicha. Anochi, I am. Da, Elohei Avraham. Because that's a construct chain. That means we say the God of Avraham. Avicha. The Avavcha, your God, your God. Al, don't. Tira, don't be afraid. Ki, because. Itecha, with you. Anochi am I. You might be wondering, what are these little dots here? Dot, dot. Sometimes the sophia, the scribe, he'll just put those in to show, hey, I'm doing this on purpose, just for proper spacing in the column. Okay, so those are not. You shouldn't attempt to translate those. Uverachticha, and I will barach, I will bless you. Vehirbeiti, and I will make rava. Don't get confused. It's not hirbe, right? It's hirbe. Remember, this is just how this scribe does it. Here it is in the nicely printed. It's a hey. See, that's just the mark of the he fill. Okay. I'm trying to zoom out, and it's drawing lines on the screen. And I will cause to be rav, to be numerous. Et za'acha, the zera, the seed of you, so your offspring. Ka, pardon me. Is it ka? Ba. See, it looks like a ka. Sometimes he doesn't do that tail so nicely there. On account of Ba'avul Avraham. The Avdi, my Yavid, my servant. Genesis chapter 26, verse 25. Maybe I'll keep it so you can keep. That's too much to keep on the screen. You keep part of the scroll on the screen in case you prefer to be trying to read that. Vayiven Sham Mizbeach Vayikra B'Shem Adonai Vayetsham Oholo Lechusham VayizrA Yitschaq Be'er. So again, I've got this cut out here because that's from a different column, you see? So we keep the flow going. But I made it obvious. At least you can tell it's not just in the margin there or something. So after the two dots, that's a sof pasuk. Some say suf pasuk, the end of the verse. Vayiven, from the verb bana. Again, it's beit nun hey. I'll draw it over in the nicely printed part. Okay, would have been a hey there. Bane or bana is to build. Yiven is he will build or he is building. Vayiven becomes, so he built sham, there, a mizbeach, an altar, something that you zavach as zevach upon. Zavach is to sacrifice, zevach is a sacrifice, and mizbeach is the thing which helps you to sacrifice, namely an altar. Oftentimes, if you don't know what the mem is doing on a word, but you recognize the root, you can kind of think, okay, how would this help the verb to do its thing, right? So when you think, how would it help me to sacrifice? Well, it could either be a slaughtering knife, a machelet, or it could be the thing on which you sacrifice, the altar. Okay, so you can internalize a lot of vocabulary this way to kind of expand off your existing vocabulary. You can kind of branch out or figure things out, even if you don't know the words yet. It happens pretty commonly in Tanachit this way. Vayikra. So he called. Yikra is he will call or he is calling. Vayikra. So he called. Be'in da Shem Adonai, the name of Yod-Heh Vav-Heh. Vayet. This is a bit harder to recognize this particular verb here. Vayet. It's from the verb natah. This is what we call a doubly weak verb. I'm trying to think, where can I write this? I'll write in the corner, okay? Nun, tate, hey. Why is it doubly weak? Because it's what we call a pay noon verb. That's a verb that starts with a noon, and it's a lamed hey verb. That's a verb that ends with a hey. Okay? And both of those are weak. That means they both disappear. So that's why we're left only with the tet here or here. The yod, it's part of saying he. Okay? So yet means he will, natah, he will turn or incline or spread, like spread out. What will he turn or incline there? Sham, there. Oholo, the ohel of him, his tent. So yet is he will, but vayet means he did it. So vayet sham oholo, so he spread out there his tent. Vayichu, vayichu. We have another weak verb here. It's kara. It's, maybe right on the black part. It's kaf, resh, hey, and the hey went away. It went away. Right? So it's to hollow out. To hollow out, like to dig a well or a cistern or such. So vayichru, and they dug up sham there. Avdei Yitschaq, the Avadim, the servants of Yitzchak. What did they dig up? Be'er, a well. Again, I don't like how the scribe writes his baits. It looks like a cough, doesn't it? There's just a little bit on the edge that you can see. Looks a lot like a cough. The building of the altar followed by the digging shows how spiritual foundation and physical livelihood go hand in hand. This is chizkuni. You know, a lot of people, they talk themselves out of tithing, out of doing a masa, or they talk themselves out of doing all sorts of things, right? Oh, I can't afford it right now, or I can't do this right now. It's really separating themselves from this truism, which chizkuni has zoomed in on here. He builds an altar. Vayivin sham mizbeach, vayikra b'shem Adonai, and he called on Hashem's name. Vayet sham Ohalo, and he spread out there his tent, so he put down his roots. Vaychru sham avdei Yitzchak, and there the servants of Isaac hollowed out a well, right? So he does the spiritual thing first, and then he goes on to do the physical livelihood stuff. They're going hand in hand. He doesn't suspend one while doing the other. These are parallel activities. Verse 26. By the way, let me know if we're improving on our presentation, if you like it this way, the way I'm doing it now. Kind of reading twice, once in the modern Schrift. I know some of you are studying German and Yiddish, that's font. Va'avi melech halach elav migeral v'achuzat merehu ufichol satzevao. Okay, verse 26 in the ancient text. Where are you? There we go. Va'avimelech. Now Avimelech halach went alive unto him. Mig ra. That's min galar. The noon is inside of the gimel. That's why there's a dagish there. I'll show it on the printed text. Min. The noon went inside. So mig gra. From gra. Va'achuzat merehu. And achuzat, which is a place name, means like possession. Me from re'ehu, from his shepherds. Ufichol, that's a name. Sal tziva'o. So this is a construct chain. The last word is definite. So the Sal, the chief, or the commander, the prince of the tzava of his army. Okay. Genesis 26, verse 27. Oh, right, we'll count it first. Vayomer Alehem Yitzchak Madu'a batem elai Ve'atem Senetem oti V'teshalachuni meitechem. Vayomer Alehem Yitzchak. Then Yitzchak Amar, he said, Alehem, unto them. Madua, why? Batem, have you all bad, have you come? Eli, unto me. Ve'atem, while you. Sorry, I lost my pointer. Sonetem, you hate. It's true, it's perfect. So it's like it said hated, but these kind of ongoing positions, even if it's perfect, which we would often understand as a past, it is interpreted as ongoing. Just like if you want to say in biblical Hebrew, you know, it's not like in modern Hebrew where you'd say ata yodea and just use a participle, right? Like you, a knowing one. But you can say ata yadata, you knew. And that implies that you still know now. It's understood that you probably didn't forget. Okay, so in this case, sanetem, you all hated. So ve'atem sanetem. And there's special emphasis here. By using the pronoun atem, that's the exact same thing as the tem at the end of the verb here. So he's really saying, you all hate. You see, it's not necessary. So this is special emphasis. So he's like, indeed, like I know you all hate oti, me. Vateshalechuni. And you all expelled me. Me from itechem, from with you all. Seemed like there might have been some difficulties there. Let's look at the clear text for everybody. Vayomer alehem Yitzchak. So Yitzchak said to them, Madua, why? But why have you come, Eli, unto me? Ve'atem sanetem, or you all indeed hate oti, me. Vateshalechu, and you have sent out, you've banished, me, me'itechem, from with you all. Any comments or questions? All right, let's continue. Genesis chapter 26, verse 28. Vayomeru ra'inu, ki haya Adonai imach vanomer tehina Allah benotenu benenu uvenecha venichata verit imach. Okay, let's look at the ancient text. Vayomeru, then they said, ra'inu. So here we have again infinitive absolute, but it's different than the one I shared with you earlier today, where it said vayelech haloch. There it was after the main verb. Here it's before the main verb. Usually, syntactically, this means indeed. It strengthens the claim, right? Like, indeed, ra'inu, we have seen. Ki, that. Hold on. It's interesting. It looks like the yod is missing from Yod He Vav He, right? Did the scribe mess that up? It's like he contracted the two yods. Ki, right? Ki. Oh, okay, it's not tetragrammaton. That's why. Haya. Okay, he's correct. That Haya Adonai. Here's the tetragrammaton. That Adonai has been imach, with you. Indeed, we've seen that Adonai has been with you. The phrase we saw plainly, or indeed we've seen, points to the visible effect of God's presence, prompting a covenant. Chizkuni. Vanomer. So we said, Tehi na Allah. Let there be now an Allah. Aleph Lamed Hey. Now Allah is kind of interesting. In some contexts it means curse. And this is normally the meaning of Allah. Aleph Lamed Hey in Hebrew. The implications are kind of funny if you think about other religions. So, it's a curse, right? It's a curse. Now, when the topic is talking about making an oath or an agreement, the idea is that it's like a curse-laden agreement, right? So you're going to make an agreement, and you're protecting the agreement with curses. Like if somebody breaks it, then curses happen, instead of just an agreement with no consequences, right? So you're both agreeing. And in the ancient days, polytheists, they would each list the names of their gods, and they'd invoke them all as witnesses, so that if they broke it, and you had to list all the names of your gods, you couldn't hold out, not list one. Otherwise, the other guy would be like, hey, how come you didn't mention that one, right? So that sometimes people would leave off one so they could appeal to that one later if they wanted to break the oath. I didn't make it to that one. You're my main god now. People can be sneaky. So let there be an Allah, a curse agreement between, benotenu. Now this is a rarer form of bain, not to be confused with like benot, like daughters or something, right? Because there's an extra yod, benotenu, which denotes between two parties only. Whereas bain, you could keep listing all the parties who are part of it, like between such and such, and between such and such, and between such and such. So benotenu, between us, beinenu, between us, uvenecha, and between you. So he's using very legal language here. V'nichrata. This is a nifal. Karat is the verb to cut, as in to cut a covenant, to make a covenant. So, and let be cut, it's feminine because barit is feminine. V'nichrata v'rit. And let there be cut a covenant. Let there be a covenantal agreement with you. Verse 29. Im ta'aseh imanu ka'asher lo niga'nucha v'ka'asher asinu imecha rak tov v'nashlechacha b'shalom ata Baruch Adonai. Okay. Im, Aleph Mem, if, ta, say, you will do, imanu, with us, ra'a, something bad. Ka'asher, according to how, lo, not, nega'anucha. So, basically saying, nega'anucha, they haven't, they haven't, like, afflicted you. Cha'asher, according to how, asinu, we have done, imecha, with you. Rak, only, tov, good. V'nashlechacha, when we sent out you, beshalom, peacefully, literally in shalom, in peace. Ata, you, ata. Now, notice ata versus ata. There's an ayin, they're spelled differently. That's why they should sound differently. You, now, Baruch Adonai. Bless Adonai, or blessing of Adonai. You're blessed by Adonai. Any comments or questions? Ibn Ezra comments on that weird benot. He says, note that the Hebrew for our two, the benotenu, is doubly plural. Like making sure that it's very legal language. Maybe that's just how they did it in that kingdom. Abarbanel understands this to be just between the two of us, i.e., quietly. Just between our two parties. No one has to know about it. No one needs to get worried and think there's some crazy alliance being formed for military purposes. All right, verse 30. Vayas lahem mishteh vayochelu vayishtu. Vayas from asa, the hay has disappeared. So he made lahem, for them, a mishteh, a feast, a drinking feast. Vayochelu, so they ate. Vayishtu, and they drank. Continuing on with Genesis chapter 26, verse 31 in the Hebrew. Vayashkimu vaboker v'shave'u ish le'achiv v'shalechem Yitschaq v'yelechu mito b'shalom. Okay, here's verse 31 in the ancient scroll. Vayashkimu means then they got up early, like they shouldered, they caused to shoulder. I don't know why. It comes from the same root as Shechem, a shoulder. Va boker, v, in, ab, the, boker. Again, remembering the definite article is ha. So it left its footprint when bait came in and replaced the hay, but the ah and the dagesh are left in there. In the boker, in the morning. Vayishave'u. Then it's actually nifal, right? It's ancient vayin shave'u, and the noon went inside of the sheen there. That's why we have a dagesh in the sheen. Vayin shave'u became vayishave'u. There's two sheens. Then they swore an oath. Ish. It says a man, but this is oftentimes used as each one. Le'achiv. to his brother, like to his fellow. So one to another is what that means. Each lachiv is one another. Vayishalachem. Then he sent away them. Who did? Yitzchak. Vayelechu, and they halach, they went. Ki, not ki, me it. Oh, it looked like a key to me the way that the scroll is kind of fading there. Me, that's min, became me. It is with. Oh, him, from with him. Be shalom, peacefully or in peace. Verse 32. Vayhi bayom hahu vayavo avdei Yitzchak vayagedu lo ha'lodot habe'er asher chafaru vayomeru lo matzanu mayim. All right, let's look at the ancient scroll. Vayhi, so it was, or it happened, Bayom hahu, in the day, again we got the ha going on there, see? Ha is the, but the hey disappeared, he left his footprint. So bu is in, I, the yom. So Bayom on the day, ha, the hu, the he. So on that day, Vayavo that came, Avdei Yitzchak, the servants of Yitzchak, Vayagidu, and they told lo to him concerning Odot. Kind of weird to have the Odot that you don't really need it. It's also like because of, like concerning because of Ha Be'er, the well. See here we've got the Hey, the Patach, and the Dagesh, right? I'll colorize it for you. The Be'er, the well, Asher, which, Chafar, they dug, Vayomeru, and they said, lo, to him, Matzanu, we found, Mayim, water. Look at this, it's very interesting. It seems like it's a reward, because he made peace, right? It seems like because he made peace with Avimelech, Hashem blessed him. And what does the master say? Blessed are whom? The peacemakers. And here, our ancestor Yitzchak has definitely been blessed because of his actions. The Chofetz Chaim teaches, he interprets this as a divine reward following the establishment of peace, blessing Isaac's persistence and God's providence. And the reason I didn't give credit to the Chofetz Chaim is because I understood this first, right? Not before him. I mean, I also understood it. And also the master teaches it. And then we have extra support from the Chofetz Chaim. All right, and this is the last bit of the Torah portion. Can you believe it? You made it! You made it. So, Genesis chapter 26, verse 33. Vayikra otach Shivra al Kain Shem ha'er Be'er Sheva Ad Hayom Hazeh. We have a satum showing there's white space in the scroll. And look, now you'll get to actually see what that looks like. So here's the satum marker. This tells us, by the way, there's some white space in case there's a reason for that tradition. We don't want to miss it. And look, here it is. White space. Cool, huh? You can actually now see that we have it side by side, the BHS with the WLC. You can actually see it, right? And because we have a column issue, I've done a screenshot to show you the bottom of the previous column, and then we continue with the verse flowing here. So, verse 33. Vayikra. So he called Ota, her. Shiva. 7 is really what that means. 7. Al Kain. Because. Shem Ha'ir. Really, that's a construct chain. Shem Ha'ir. I've got that mark for you over here. See? Construct. Shem Ha'ir. The name of the city was Be'er Sheva. Well of 7. Ad. Until Hayom, the day. Hazeh, the this one. Until this very day. And then we have Satum. And here's the actual Satum. You can see it. So cool, right? Verse 34. Vayhi Esau ben Abaim Shana Vayikach Isha et Yehuvith bat Be'eri Hachiti vet Basemath bat Elon Hachiti. Okay, so continue with verse 34 after the Satum, after the white space. Vayhi Esau. When Esau was ben Abaim Shana, a son of 40 Shana year. So when he was 40 years old, Vayikach, then he took Isha, a wife, or he married a woman, et Yehudith. Her name was Yehudith, daughter of, well, that's kind of, is that a bait? Looking at the original, if you're just listening, I'm looking at the original scroll, the 1,000-year-old scroll, kind of dark looking there. Be'er, interesting. So, daughter of Be'er Shev. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That's not right. I looked over here to try to see what it was. Bat Elon, okay. Daughter of. My eyes jumped. Wait, nope. Okay, here it is. Daughter of Be'eri, pardon me. So she's from that place. Hachiti, of the Hittites. Ve'et, and, okay, so this is another wife he's taking. Basemath, bat Elon, the daughter of Elon, Hachiti, the Hittite. So Be'eri is a name, right? So she's the daughter of Be'eri, the Hittite. That's what I should have said. It's funny because we've been talking about all these wells, right? Be'er Sheva and such. It's a place name. And then this guy's name is Be'eri. So it kind of threw me off. I was trying to translate it. I guess he's like the well man, right? His mother probably named him for fortune. If he's got this name, then he'll find wells. So Yehudith, the daughter of Be'eri, the Hittite, and he married Basemath, bat Elon, the daughter of Elon, which is kind of also a magnificent name, the Hittite. All right, and finally, the end of the Torah portion, we finish with verse 35. V'tichyena morat ruach leYitzchak uleRivka. Okay. V'tichyena. So from the verb haya, but it's feminine plural, right? That's what the tu and the na is at the end. Usually we'd have a hey there, but not always. And it was, or there was, morat ruach, bitterness of spirit, leYitzchak, to Yitzchak, and le to Rivka. Right? They had a bitter spirit because of what he did here, marrying Hittites. Rabbi Hirsch explains how Esau's choices brought sorrow, symbolizing the spiritual consequences of abandoning heritage and covenantal commitment. Chizkuni opines the moral cost of crossing cultural religious lines, even in the environment of blessing, right? That this caused a bitter spirit, a mora, literally mora, bitterness of ruach, of spirit, to Isaac and Rebekah. And then here you can see we've got the Satum, not the Satum, pardon me. Go back. No, wrong way. No, we're not there yet. The marking the Sedra, right? The next Triennial Torah portion for next week, starting here. Right, so very nice. I don't know, I find it super cool having the ancient scroll here and the modern stuff. Let me know if you like how I've updated it this time, or if you have any suggestions of a better way to do this. We're now going to move into the lekach for today's lesson. What is our takeaway? What is our lekach? How can we have me'asharim in our own lives? Right? 100-fold blessing, reaping more than we sow. How can we position ourselves spiritually to receive his blessings? Not to be confused with the kind of teachings that it's all about money or something like this, right? There's many blessings in life and they're not all financial, are they? What did our ancestor do? When his neighbors strived with him too much, he left. He didn't try to get justice. He moved. Not saying that this is always doable, but it is a strategy. And then eventually they sued him for peace. They saw how he was blessed by Hashem, and they probably realized they were wrong in contending with him before. There will always be those who are alarmed when we are in a period of blessing from heaven. We need to learn to identify who and when this is happening. Then we can pray appropriately and take the right strategies. Be careful not to have the Philistine spirit yourself when seeing others' successes. Don't have an evil eye. The Master warns, when your eye is evil, your whole body is filled with darkness. So faithfully, my friends, stand your ground, and the time to reap, it will come, even if you're going through a hard time right now. Oh Adonai, for anyone, L'kol asher shoma'ei et koli achshav tishlachna Abba et birchotecha aleihem. Anyone who's hearing my voice right now, please send forth your blessings upon them. Anyone who listened and faithfully studied this shi'ur, may you send forth refuot shalemot, complete healings, and also berachot mishamayim mim'al, blessings from heaven above, and also may they be ashrei, blessed emotionally. May they have the gift of ruchacha, your spirit, Abba, so that those who look on them, our other brothers and sisters from Israel, when they look upon us, they will say, wow, how is it that in such a storm you have such shalom, such peace, such a ruach, such a spirit which surpasses understanding. May we have your spirit, may we be fit, considered fit, not by our own merit, but by the merit of Yeshua, Mashiach, and may we fall into line with our ancestors, such as we've seen Yitzchak, to be men and women of shalom. We currently have a ceasefire, so I'm not going to say the prayer that we've been saying recently, but instead we will conclude with the Birchat HaKohanim. Ein lanu Lewi, ein lanu Kohen po achshav, ve'aseh את הברכה הזאת אחרי סדר מלכי צדק, כי יש לנו כהן בשמיים ממעל, ישוע שמו. יבורכך אדוני וישמרך.